Okay. Ready, Laura?
We are. Let's go.
Brilliant. So it seems that Gabby Logan took our audience away. Rude, I say, rude. But, you know, it is a career first, isn't it, to have a celebrity warm you up. So she was our warm-up act. It's just a shame that she's slam dunked, taken everyone out the room. But never mind. Hopefully more people will join us as we go. My name's Steph Hopper. I am the Talent Management Practice Director from Cappfinity. It's great to be with you today. My career's been a mixture of working in-house, freelance and supplier side, probably like many of you in the audience. Cappfinity, we are pioneers of skills-based assessment and development. We are 20 years old this week, so it's our birthday. And we are a global organisation based in Sydney, various US locations, and Birmingham and London as well. We work with all sorts of different audiences, from school leavers and apprentices and industrial placement students and graduates, right up to leaders and C-suite, and have a range of different solutions for all of those different types of groups. And I guess we're known for our innovation, our use of technology and our passion for data. And very importantly, our client partnerships. And I'd love to welcome Laura from British Airways.
Thank you, Steph. It's so lovely to be here. I am living my little girl's dream of having a Britney mic on. So this is career highlight for me. I'm Laura. I'm our performance and talent strategy manager at British Airways. And yeah, my role is to create a high-performing culture where everyone in the organisation understands the role that they play to create a better BA. But I think what's really kind of personal for me is I want everyone to feel like they've got the opportunity to fulfill their full potential in their career with us as well.
Great.
Are we going to ask each other that question?
Yeah, so what was the moment, Laura, in your career when you felt you were truly taking off? You know, what made that happen?
Well, I mean, apart from this one, maybe. For me, it was when I was on a top talent development program at my previous organisation, actually. And I had this real light bulb moment in the room where I realised I probably didn't want to stay on that same career trajectory I was maybe on. I was working in comms and engagement, and thought, oh my goodness, I really want to be that person at the front of the room who's helping colleagues to unlock their potential and understand their skills and help them to navigate their career. So kind of fast forward a couple of years, and that's me here today, living that kind of light bulb moment and career pivot in my role now at British Airways. What about you, Steph? What was a moment for you in your career?
So a different era, because sadly I may have a few more years on Laura, but in my mid-20s I was based in Australia, and I remember very clearly having a coaching conversation, and the message I got from that was, Steph, go global, go big, get out of Australia. And I got an opportunity to fulfill a secondment where I represented Asia Pacific and travelled around the world in that organisation, and that gave me that platform to build a strategic network and really like to raise my profile. So I sort of look back and think that was an amazing opportunity, a sliding doors moment that I'm grateful that I got at that time. So I guess different eras, same result. They both gave us a launch pad in order to take our career and move on into a different direction perhaps. And that's what I guess we want to share today, is how we set out together with our teams to create those moments at British Airways for their top talent and also for the wider organisation as well. So where did things start on this journey that we went on together? And I guess we'd been working with British Airways for a little while when they started to talk to us about some of the challenges they were having around talent management. And some of the things we were hearing about really sort of spoke to us that actually they needed to reimagine their approach. And Laura, you know, the grounded planes on that journey, what did they really represent for you?
Yes, so even though we were emerging out of COVID, and luckily our actual planes weren't grounded anymore, our colleagues felt like grounded planes. Many of them were taxi seeing off elsewhere and leaving the business, and we were seeing kind of a peak in unwanted attrition. I think because the aviation industry had been hit so hard by the pandemic that many colleagues, especially kind of our highest performers, were not seeing a career future within this industry or within the organisation. We also didn't know who we were losing. I mean, we could have been losing our next CEO, and so we really needed to do something around actually how do we identify talent. I think also for those colleagues who were staying in the business, they felt quite stagnant, and we're kind of stuck in their roles, and so we really needed to do something to kickstart internal talent mobility.
So I guess our sort of interpretation was we needed to offer something that gave everybody some hope that they could develop their careers within British Airways. It wasn't about just worrying about their high potentials. It was actually, what could we do for everyone? And how could we help to begin to drive that internal mobility through the organisation? And I guess secondly, it was around helping people feel more committed again, because they were losing so many people. How could they get people to want to actually develop their career and stay on? Now, what about the hidden flight paths, Laura? What were they all about?
Yes, so when we say flight paths, we're probably meaning career paths here, and succession planning was a bit inconsistent across the business. It probably wasn't done in the most robust way. The analogy I like to use is it was a bit X Factor style, behind closed doors, in a dark room with headshots on a board. And the outcomes of those weren't shared with colleagues either. So colleagues didn't know if they were considered top talent. And there definitely wasn't any kind of development or kind of so what for those colleagues who were. So what we needed to do is make this much more kind of open and transparent, and actually tell our colleagues that we really value them and think they're high potential.
And so we knew there that we really needed to leverage our assessment expertise, because what British Airways were looking for was an objective way of understanding where people sat on their talent grid. And that was what they didn't have when they started talking to us. And so, Laura, what about, I've forgotten my little build on the slide there, never mind. What about the chance seating allocation? What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, no one likes random seating allocation at the gate, do they? They like to know where they're sat before they get there. And what it meant for us with our colleagues is it was a bit of a line manager lottery. If you had a great line manager who was super supportive of you, they would share lots of different development opportunities with you. And maybe if your line manager wasn't so great, you weren't open to those or given that opportunity to develop. And so what we wanted to do is really democratize that development, make sure that we were really channeling our investment to developing kind of the best and brightest in our organization.
Yeah, we could see that they needed to give meaning to the label top talent. We didn't want it just to be sat on a spreadsheet on Laura's desktop, but actually to have some kind of meaning attributed to it, but also there'd be something for everyone. So I guess, in summary, we realised that in order to transform their talent management, there was 4 things that we really need to focus on. And Laura and I are going to take you through the full solution in a moment, but we're going to start by just sharing the results of this journey, maybe doing it, the other way round to what you might expect. And so I guess for all of you as learning and development professionals, you're used to seeing a bit of happy sheet data. This was very happy sheet data. The results were phenomenal. But what you have to remember is these were top talent. So we couldn't anticipate that they were going to be impressed by what they had experienced. We didn't know whether we were going to hit it on the mark exactly right, but actually what we saw was they grew in self-insight, they were more confident to develop their careers, and they were really committed actually to doing that within British Airways. So the qualitative comments said very similar things, and there were countless stories of people who have been stuck for many years in their role with no idea on how to actually move and leverage this fantastic organisation they were part of and develop their careers. And those stories really were heartwarming. But I guess the holy grail is the business impact. Laura, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, there's been so much talk today about business impact. And I think, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know how important, but also how hard it is to get really great data, I'm really pleased that we did actually manage to really uncover some real kind of nuggets of fantastic impact. So of those colleagues who enrolled on the High Potential Development Programme, 32% saw a role title change within the kind of 6 months or so after rolling off the programme. And of those 32, 63% were moving to larger and bigger roles, indicating a promotion, which obviously is a massive tick when internal talent mobility was one of those things that we were trying to drive. It doesn't stop there, though. You'll remember unwanted attrition was also something we were tackling, and really pleased that our attrition has dropped significantly. It's about 1.4% for those colleagues who take part annually in our talent review, kind of annual talent review campaign, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, compared to the population as a whole, so it's really kind of driving that attrition down. 0%. I mean, that was unreal when I saw that no one who was identified as top talent in 23 or 24 has left the business. So we're retaining our next CEO, our next C-suite, which is fantastic. And lastly, the number of colleagues who expressed a kind of interest in leaving the organisation has halved over the last couple of years. Off the back of COVID, obviously, there were a large percentage of people who were really thinking hard about whether British Airways was a place they wanted to continue their career. And I think to invest in development opportunities so that colleagues can see that the organisation is investing in them and they can see a future there is really critical, and has driven more engaged and more motivated colleagues who are then performing higher in their roles and really making a difference to the business.
And the icing on the cake, I guess, was a gold win at the Learning Awards earlier this year. I think for British Airways, recognition of the bold approach that they'd taken. They'd been really brave in what they had implemented internally. For us at Cappfinity, recognition that our skills-based approach had worked really well and, had delivered the results that British Airways needed in terms of reimagining talent management. And then just pride for the project teams. It will be a moment that I will certainly always hold on to and be grateful for. So the solution that we had to put together really had to have 4 elements to it. And those 4 elements are what Laura and I are going to share with you now. We had to make sure that we were doing something that was scalable for everybody. It wasn't just about top talent. We needed something that was going to be objective and transparent if we were going to start identifying who had that potential. And we needed to actually make sure that, those who were top talent got some recognition and development that was appropriate and would help them drive their careers forward. And it was really important to, reimagine learning innovation for them and give them something different. So that's what we're going to share with you now. So Laura, how did we create something that was scalable for all?
Yeah, so it was really important that every colleague within our kind of head office or kind of desk-based colleagues were able to take part in the annual campaign to really understand more about themselves and drive self-insights and understand their skills as a way to then help them to think about their personal development. So we introduced this Cappfinity Skills Discovery, which is one of my favourite tools. It is such an amazing self-insights tool and is really, really simple and super easy to use. It essentially assesses all of Cappfinity's 80 behavioural skills in their skills bank and categorises them into different categories around your realised or unrealised strengths, learnt behaviours or weaknesses. And there's a fantastic report off the back of that assessment, which is got loads of different nuggets about how to support your development going forward. And what we asked our colleagues to do is to share that report with their line manager during their mid-year conversation. We call it the big conversation because it's not just about performance, but it's also about thinking about personal development and potential and how you can be supported to achieve your goals as you kind of enter that midpoint and that second half of the year. What we've also done is train some internal coaches and facilitators to give debriefs based on these reports, and this is one of their favourite things to do because honestly the impact that they have in that hour session with that colleague is phenomenal, and that colleague walks away with so much richer kind of insights into themselves and their skills and how they can use their skills to increase their performance and really drive kind of engagement and motivation within their role as well.
And then Laura, I guess if you could tell us a little bit about the need to identify top talent and how we did that.
Yeah, so we 3 years ago introduced the Grow Your Talent campaign, and what we wanted is, as you've heard, we wanted something objective and transparent to be able to identify high potential across the business. Our leaders were conflating performance and potential. At that moment in time, they kind of weren't ready to really grasp this idea of understanding and assessing potential. But also, we wanted this to be colleague owned. We didn't want colleagues to feel like it was something that was being done to them or for them, but that actually they were in the driving seat of understanding their own potential. And so as part of the annual Grow Your Talent campaign, as well as the skills discovery, we introduced the Your Potential assessment, which is based on Cappfinity's STEP model, which is skills that enable progression. And that assessment looks at 8 of the Cappfinity 80 skills, but these 8 are really indicative of you being successful to move to a larger, more complex role within the near future. Are you capable? Are you adaptable? And have you got that motivation to do so? And again, similar to the skills discovery, you get a fantastic report at the end of it. As well as within that report, you have a potential rating. And combined with a colleague's performance rating from their end of year and that potential rating from the assessment, we plot our colleagues on our talent grid. And our colleagues understand where they're plotted. Everyone knows. It's actually, colleagues find out first. It's not something that goes to their line manager and then their line manager tells them. It's really open and transparent. But obviously, once we've identified those colleagues and mapped them on the talent grid, that top right-hand side is all about top talent. And this is where we kind of deepened our partnership with Cappfinity and enlisted their help on creating something fantastic for our top talent colleagues.
Yeah, and so I guess what was key here was that we gave meaning to being top talent and we gave them appropriate development as well. And so we set about really thinking about how can we really help these people accelerate their careers and what is it that they need. And so through working with Laura's team, we were really thinking about what do we need to do to stretch and grow their potential if these are, leaders of the future and people who BA really need to invest in. How can they take what they do with us and embed it into their day-to-day work? Because actually that was going to be really important in terms of accelerating their learning and their knowledge. And what could they do that would hone their skills? They were already fantastic. So what was it that we could do that would really make a difference? And what we did was we developed a program called the Highflyers program. It was underpinned by our high potential accelerators. These are the behaviours that we know are critical for success for top talent. And the program had a number of different elements, but the highlights were there was space for them in terms of career reflection, so coaching time where they debriefed on their reports, they reflected on their career steps, they could think about what they wanted to do next. We thought that was really important for them. They also had the opportunity to do some skill building sessions. These were integrated with British Airways challenges, and the challenges were real, they weren't fake, they were actual challenges that BA are struggling with at the moment. They were presented to them by the CEO who was able to explain exactly what he was looking for, and then they worked in teams, cross-functional teams, to come up with some solutions to those challenges and then present their recommendations back to a member of Sean, the CEO's teams, his direct reports. One of them would attend and evaluate and give them feedback. I have to say, Laura's, having worked in this field for years, everybody always says, get stakeholders there, get senior sponsorship, and it's hard to do. We all know that. But Laura and her team did a top job. I mean, Sean was right behind it and the board who report into him. And obviously that did masses for the top talents, like feeling of esteem and pride and feeling they were really getting that recognition made such a difference to them. The other thing that they experienced was our virtual reality coaching experience, which I will tell you a little bit more about now. You may have been past our stand over the last couple of days and maybe you've had a go at it with some of us. So how many of you use virtual reality at the moment in your learning programs? Hands up, anyone? No? What about coaching? There must be a few coaches here. Oh, one. There we go. Okay, brilliant. So what we've done is we've really integrated those two concepts. So a series of abstract environments in virtual reality and a coaching dialogue. So what that looks like is for our top talent, they had a skills discovery debrief with a coach, so that helped them to interpret their report and understand it. Then they went into our virtual reality environments, which you can actually walk around. So you put the headset on and then you are immersed in a world that you can't prepare for at all. And your coach observes how you deal with and how you, when you're confronted by challenges, how you handle those. They look at your body language, they look at the tone of your voice, they look at whether you're talking to yourself or whether you go silent, and then afterwards you have a debrief with that coach. And the feedback really from our British Airways top talent was phenomenal on this. It was the thing that really stood out for them and made such a difference to them. And of course this really plays into the sort of Tasha Eurich research around the fact that 95% of us think we're self-aware, but actually only 10 to 15% of us are. This is all about growing in self-awareness and deepening. So first of all, you can't prepare for these environments. So what you see is authentic behaviour. They say 95% of us behave in a completely authentic way in virtual reality. And that enables the individual to really see what the coach has observed and sort of think about and reflect, actually, what does that mean for me when I go back to work? What skills or strengths was I demonstrating there? Secondly, there's the sort of multi-level stimulation. So virtual reality is hitting us on lots of different levels, far more than standard learning. Somatic, emotional, cognitive. It really is an immersive experience, and one that I guess can stimulate different responses. You could be in an Egyptian crypt one moment solving a puzzle, the next minute you may be in an auditorium giving a presentation, and then you may be on the top floor of a building about to decide what to do and how to make yourself safe. I know that when they took me into a scientific laboratory, I was silent. I was not comfortable and I couldn't wait for the experience to end. But in itself, this is interesting to reflect on that and think, what situations do I have in my role where that happens for me? And then finally, I guess our coaches always say this, the thing that we notice is that it really accelerates learning and action much more quickly than standard ways of coaching people. And that's because actually you really get to know the real person very quickly. So one of our coaches always says, you know, Steph, after one VR coaching session, I'm there. I'm at the same point as after 3 sessions, normal sessions without virtual reality. And I think it's because you get that observation of the person, you actually see them in action, and you see their authentic behaviour. So this was a real winner, and in fact probably one of the things that as we were in our 3rd year of delivering this programme, one of the things that Laura and her team were keen to ensure was there for everybody. So Laura, what are some of the things that I guess we've changed or iterated as we've gone?
Yeah, so as Steph says, we're in year 3, which is amazing. I can't believe that it's gone so fast. The first year we had 2 different programme lengths. So we piloted a 3-month and a 6-month programme. What we found is actually, you know, British Airways is a very fast-paced operational environment. Our colleagues really valued having a 3-month kind of quick, more intense programme. So what we've done going forward is design that programme, within that 3-month time period rather than having the longer 6-month programme. As part of that pilot, we had just the virtual reality within the 6-month programme, but actually we've said virtual reality is such an immersive experience and so impactful that I wanted to make sure that every colleague had virtual reality. And so every one of our top talent colleagues experiences virtual reality, and we've built it into that 3-month programme. We've also created over the years much more support for line managers. I mean, wouldn't we all love our line managers to be like amazing coaches? Wouldn't we all love for every colleague to be able to have that kind of coaching experience? We know that that's kind of it's nirvana, but we're working towards it. But I think what's really important is giving our line managers the real tools and resources to be able to have meaningful conversations, particularly when we're investing in 2 great self-insights insights tools, actually let's kind of upskill our line managers somewhat in having those debriefing conversations so that they can really kind of draw that and have that real impact and draw those results out from those reports. We are also thinking about doing more around career spotlights. So we've got some amazing stories, 32% of colleagues moving into a different role within the few months of enrolling off the programme. And actually, I think we all underestimate the power of just colleagues hearing from each other about where their careers are going. I think we often think about having to ask our kind of leaders and directors to share their story, but actually I want to talk to the colleagues who will appeal, I suppose, to the masses, right? And to be able to have that peer-to-peer learning and recognition. We are in year 3, so our colleagues who are identified as top talent time and time again, we needed to think about what we were going to do for them and build longevity into the programme. So we asked them about some of the focuses or topics that they'd really like to dive into a bit deeper, that maybe they touched on in their Highflyers journey but didn't have enough time in that 2-day development centre, but also what's still holding them back maybe from taking that kind of next step in their career, not necessarily on up the ladder, but maybe laterally. And what we've done is designed half-day workshops that really go deeper into those topics for those colleagues to really help them to accelerate in their learning and growth. And lastly, everyone loves a celebration. And so what we've really done is package the programme up with a fantastic launch event with our CPO, and then an amazing celebration at the end, which just happens to be around Christmas. So it's lovely to tie that in with a Christmas party and have some fun. But also, I think on a serious note, it's around how do we help those colleagues to network with others who maybe weren't part of their cohort, but are still part of the wider top talent community, and continue and build those relationships as they go throughout their career.
And so I guess when this quote arrived from Sean Doyle, this was a bit of a mic drop moment for Laura and myself and our teams. We were thrilled to see that he understood the impact that the programme had had, and felt a real sense of pride that he could see how it was making a difference, I guess, to the leaders of the future. So a really special moment. Having said that,
yes, I mean, I love this and this is amazing, but for me, this is where my real kind of pride. I have just the privilege of receiving these in my inbox, and that just fills me with so much joy and means that I know I made that right choice when I pivoted my career. But I also hope that the Highflyers programme is that take-off moment for a lot of our top talent at British Airways. And I think we kind of want to leave you with thinking about what you're doing to help your colleagues to really take off. And yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Do come and visit us. Final, half an hour left? We're at stand B10. We're the ones with the nice notebooks. That's what we keep being told.
Yeah, they're lovely.
So come and grab a last one of the